All right, hey, this is Jared Reston. We're here at the Safariland live stream here at SHOT Show 2025. Today we're going to have our special guest, Alex Hartman from Ridgeline Defense, and we're also going to have Blayr Drumm, the phenom in the tactical games world. So we're going to be interviewing her and seeing what's going on. Guys, if you have any questions, put them in the comments. They'll get pushed to me, and we can get it going. Let's start with a little quick bios real quick. Alex, go ahead and start with yours.
Safariland Corps member, CEO and founder of Ridgeline Defense, training facility in northern New Hampshire, and all-around good-time guy. So
right.
We're here at SHOT Show 2025, just having some fun.
All right, Blayr, just a quick bio, and then we'll get into like some deep questions.
All right, ooh, deep.
Deep,
okay.
We're going deep.
Blayr Drumm, I'm a competitive shooter, competitive CrossFit / fitnesser. I am a nutritionist and a personal trainer.
All right, awesome. So, would you say your main competition that you like to do is like the tactical games? Is that kind of like where your niche, or
Yep.
Or is it more?
I would say, yeah, I started out primarily in fitness competitions, CrossFit competitions.
Right, yep.
So it's basically adding shooting to that. So rest.
Yeah, that's great.
You know?
Yeah. So, how'd you get involved, and like when did you see that? I mean, was it just you saw it on YouTube, or how'd you get involved with tactical games?
So I actually, my husband started doing tactical games. He got me into CrossFit, and I got into CrossFit. I wasn't working out at all. This is probably about 8 years ago.
Yeah.
I wasn't working out at all. I had the opposite lifestyle of what I have now. And he was the healthy eater. He worked out every day, and I was like, why do you want to do that? Why do you want to pay people to feel that miserable?
Yeah.
But then I gave it a try, went to the gym, went to his gym, fell in love with it. Really fell in love with a sport that I could potentially win at and compete. So I started competing in that. He was competing as well. He got a little burnout competing in the CrossFit space, so he started looking for something that he could work on his shooting, because he loves to shoot. He did. He Googled like tactical shooting or like shooting in fitness, and tactical games popped up. It had just started. It was the year that it started, and he signed up for an event. He was like, "Hey, I'm going to try this out. Will you come and cheer me on and support me?" I did. I think I watched him compete in 2 events, and I was like, "I don't want to watch anymore. I want to compete and win at this too." So my first event was 2019 in Florida.
Yeah.
I had 3 months to learn how to shoot a handgun. I had never shot a handgun for accuracy. It was just like, hey, make sure you can shoot someone if they come in our home, kind of a thing, like make sure you can shoot this gun. I'd never shot for accuracy, precision at high heart rate, anything like that. So it was me and my husband on the range for 3 months. That was an experience.
Yeah.
But
probably no fights or anything. It was probably
no
smooth
yelling.
sailing. Yeah.
No yelling. No yelling. No cursing.
Yeah,
Definitely no cursing.
None.
So, and after that, I mean, I think I came in like 3rd to last, but I was hooked. It was something that I was not good at, that I could potentially work hard to be good at, and that's what I like. I like
That's
the
awesome.
challenge. So,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So like how many events a year are you attending now?
So when I started out, I was doing every event that I could. And then I realized that I was basically competing myself out of shape, right? I was training, and then I would have to taper to compete, which is like 2 weeks off of training, and then to come back, it was like a week off of training. I ended up taking like 3 weeks off of training, so I was competing myself out of shape. I was doing like 6 to 8 events. Now our season looks like 4 events plus nationals, or 3 events plus nationals, so 4 to 5 events a year, and that's perfect.
And so tactical games, because I'm familiar with tactical games, but I don't know like the ins and outs of it. So how many events do they hold a year? Like, and it's all over the country, right?
It's all over the country. Actually, out of country. They're doing their first event in Poland this year.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's all around the country. Typically, they'll do half and half, West Coast, East Coast, with like 1 event, 2 events in Texas. And it depends. It depends on like how many ranges that they can contact to kind of get events going. I would say probably about 12 is a safe number.
12? All
Events that they do, plus nationals. And
Yeah.
nationals is a qualifying. You have to qualify to make it to nationals.
Right. All right. So when was your first qualifying?
I qualified.
Since you got 3rd to last, I'm sure you didn't qualify that year.
Definitely didn't. But
First year though, first year.
First year,
Small field,
right?
First year, yeah.
Made it.
So nationals was not a thing when I started.
Okay.
Nationals became a thing in 2020, and I actually qualified in 2020. I got 4th place. You had to finish top 5 in a regional event.
Yeah.
And I finished 4th place in Meridian in 2020, and that sealed the deal for me for nationals.
Okay. Awesome.
I was still very, very new to the sport. It's a 3-day event. So nationals, normal tactical games events are 2-day events, but this nationals is a 3-day event.
Yeah.
Which is a whole other animal. You add another day in there, and you see people really, really tested, really fall apart. So 2020 was a hard year, like physically, shooting, all of it. Just nationals in general was a very hard year. That's the year I told you I fell off the rope.
Yeah.
But
it's pretty much one rule with rope climbing.
Yeah.
Don't fall off the rope.
Yeah. We had a 6 or 8 mile ruck before then.
Yeah.
I cinched my ruck up too tight, and I lost feeling in my arms. And they basically were like, "Hey guys, 30 minutes, and you're doing the rope climb event." And I was like, "That's cool. I can't feel my arms."
Yeah.
So we had a bunch of heavy farmers carry with rope climbs in between, and I had everyone cheering me on, and I would try to climb the rope, and I failed. And
But you couldn't feel them, but they told you they were there, so you were good.
I mean, I saw them. They were there. So about the third attempt at the rope climb, I was all the way at the top. I went to touch the beam with my rifle on my back.
Nice.
After that, we didn't climb ropes with our rifles on our back anymore. I don't know if it had anything to do with me.
Oh, no, you walked.
Probably not.
You walked it off, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, heck yeah.
Yeah.
If you can get a rule named after you, that's really the pinnacle of really any competition.
They're like, "Hey, we're gonna ground rifles from now on."
Yeah.
I call this the Blayr rule.
So, Alex, y'all have hosted tactical games up there at Ridgeline before, right?
Yeah, we've had them 3 times. So, and I was going to ask you about this too, because the ownership's changed on several different times. I don't know if you've seen like a progression. Obviously, it's gotten way more professional. It's gotten way more organized. Like it's grown obviously as anything does throughout the years. But as a competitor, what have you noticed, or is it just not even a thing?
So when tactical games started, it was like everyone says it was like the Wild West. Like the OGs of tactical games, like 2018, 2019. Whenever tactical games started, I mean, you were running with hot rifles. You were running with hot pistols to start an event. That's not the case now.
Who got the rule named after them for that
one? I'm not sure, but it wasn't me.
Yeah.
So,
the Blayr Drumm rope climb is now
the memorial rope climb.
So yeah, things have definitely changed, more from a safety perspective. I mean, obviously, more people know about the tactical games now, so you have a lot of people from a lot of different walks of life wanting to compete. So like the safety and the structure of the events had to change, But I mean, overall, it's all been great changes.
Well, that's one of the things that I noticed. I don't think people understand how large these 2-day events are. I mean, they're like 300 plus competitors, plus friends, family,
multiple divisions.
Like it's wild.
Yeah.
But the other part is it's doing such a great job of pulling people who are probably not really into shooting. Like it's giving like some sort of like bridge or an entryway from the fitness side into the shooting side. So you've got to make sure that there's some safety there for all involved.
And that was me. Like, I mean, I wasn't into shooting that much.
Right.
I mean, I liked it, but it wasn't something that I did, every like month or.
You probably didn't know you could compete in something like that.
No.
Yeah, right.
So, I mean, whenever I started, I was just really happy that I could go somewhere that I could be proficient and safe with my firearms. Like, I could learn how to do that. It built a lot of confidence.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I know that if someone breaks into my house or something, like, I can safe and proficiently, like, use this firearm. And, I wasn't scared to stay at home anymore. My husband works at the fire station. He works 24-hour shifts. Like,
right.
I'm not afraid to stay at home anymore. Like, so tactical games helped me in more ways than just, fitness, competition, things like that. It helped me be more proficient.
I mean, before you were just going to beat him to death, but now
exactly,
yeah.
I had a really big bat.
Yeah. now much more humane. It's a humane.
Now I have a really nice rifle. It's
Yeah.
suppressed.
Yeah.
I can calmly call my husband and say, "Hey, I took care of something."
Yeah, worked it out.
We need you to take out some trash.
Yeah.
It's no big deal. Don't ask a lot of questions. So speaking of training, like, obviously you're doing the fitness thing full time, and there's, I'm sure we'd like to hear about what that training regiment looks like. But on the shooting side, like, what else do you do? Do you do any other shooting comps or training events, or kind of how do you work both of that? Is it like periodized, or do you just kind of maintain some sort of maintenance on both sides, or how do you kind of, eat this elephant?
So my training at first, I was an avid CrossFitter. My goal was to go to the games. So when your goal is to go to the games, that's all you eat, sleep, drink, and think about. Because there's only 39 people that make it to the games. I'm not sure, but it's a very small number compared to the people that sign up to do the original competition to start making it.
Yeah.
So I was only at the gym, and it was very hard for me. And my husband and people that were in the sport that were my friends were telling me this, but I didn't get it. It was like, hey, you need to spend less time at the gym because you're fit enough, and you need to go to the range. You really need to go to the range because tactical games, you cannot outrun or outlift a miss.
Right, that's what I'm saying. It'd be ashamed to be really tired with a lot of misses.
Yes.
Yeah.
So my first nationals that I did, I was like, okay, I got 10th place. And I was like, why? I started looking back and everything. The weights were not an issue. I mean, my running could have definitely improved. Not falling off the rope would have helped.
Yeah.
But it was my shooting.
It's the fastest way down, though.
It is. It's a very fast.
It's a very fast way down.
And efficient way down.
You made up for a miss on that one.
I did. But so I started realizing hey, I'm having trouble with moving and shooting because every tactical games event has an aggregate. An aggregate is a 2-gun moving and shooting event. So I was having a lot of trouble with that. I was coming in second to last, almost last place in those events. So I started going to the range more, giving up some of my gym time, and started working on moving and shooting. And then I saw my placements going up. So then I completely changed the format of how I went about nationals this year, and I ended up on the podium. And that was to, like you said, kind of structure my training around my season, spend more time at the gym in the early season before competition starts, and then the closer that nationals gets, spend a lot more time at the range. Kind of deload off, keep running, but deload off of staying in the gym, the lifting and all of that, because I already have that baseline built, and spending time at the range, learning my trigger, it's a lot of static shooting on the line. You're basically, you're static shooting a lot. You're on the line, shooting from a barricade or, single hand, left, right. So the more you know your grip and your trigger, and you have a relationship with that trigger, the more accurate you're going to be.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Especially when your heart rate is at 160.
Yeah. And then you can start, we always talk about in training, also, not really calling your shots, but what didn't feel right,
exactly.
so you can send another one.
And I
didn't
understand. So I got a shooting coach. I started working with a SWAT team last year, just doing some training stuff with them.
Yeah.
And I kind of developed a relationship with the one of the range, the guy that runs the range.
Yeah.
And he was like, hey, you're really good at this, but you are you could be really good at this.
Right.
But you are not good at this. So let me help you and kind of show you some things that will make you better,
right.
better shooter. And that I did not comprehend that, being able to call your shot.
Right.
He does USPSA, so he's like, hey, I can call my shot. I know when I hit a Charlie, and I can make it up. And I didn't understand that, but I would go out to the range for a warm up and shoot 100 rounds every single day at 7 yards, and I started being able to, at very small targets.
Yeah, right.
And I started being able to realize, oh, well, I hit this high because of this.
That felt like this.
Yes.
And you remember it, right.
And I was able to understand that. And I don't think you understand that until you get miles on your gun.
Right, 100%. That's when you're starting to move into that master class of just more of, you're not really going to learn a lot, but within yourself, or someone's going to say something, when we take training classes or we do something, just that one word kind of, you could have took the same thing 2 years ago, but now you hear it and you're like, now I know what he's talking about.
It doesn't resonate until you put the mile and the time in. The miles on at the time in, and then it just clicks one day and you're like, wow, I completely understand that.
Yeah.
So
it also helps develop that intuitive shooting. So when you are at 160 and you're tacked out, you're like, all right, cool, I can just default back to just this sort of intuitive level of shooting.
Yep.
Would you say you do mostly pistol in your training, and then kind of are you 70-30 pistol rifle, or are you?
So whenever I started, I was naturally pretty decent at rifle, pretty decent at PRS, long range.
Yeah.
We always have a long range event at tactical games, and I understood, holds and stuff like that. We don't dial in tactical games because we have par times for our distance, so you just have to, learn your holds. My pistol is what I just really struggled with. So leading up to nationals this year, I spent, I want to say like 85, 15 pistol. Because I was like, look, I'm missing all these pistol shots. Like, and it's just easy shots that I'm missing. And then whenever I got to nationals, I saw like kind of a weakness in rifle again, because my pistol had gained so much.
Yeah.
That it's like, all right, now the pendulum's kind of swinging towards rifle. So this year, my main focus, my main goal is to work on barricade shooting with a rifle, standing rifle, stuff like that. Because generally they'll tax your forearms and they'll tax your shoulders, and then they'll get you to stand and shoot rifle.
Yeah.
So.
But one good thing, I like that you said that, though, because, you know, we both preach this. Good pistol shooting transitions to good rifle shooting.
Really
Not
does.
always good rifle shooting doesn't transition to good pistol shooting. So, like, even in our training regiments, we do a lot more pistol than rifle, just because, I mean, rifle's more fun, but it is. And it's, you know, you can go to distance, but it's faster. But, you know, you got to get on that pistol and stuff like that. So that's pretty awesome. So we went over kind of your training goals for 2025. Is just, you know, but you picked up any new sponsors or anything to help you out with this pistol game?
So Kimber.
Yeah.
I started working with Kimber last year, and they had not come out with my now match gun.
Yeah.
So they came out with the match gun that I'm running now in November.
Yeah.
I got my hands on it a little early, and I switched over from a 2011 platform to a 2K11. So it wasn't a big transition.
Right.
But it was like, hey, here's this gun. You have 3 months before the biggest competition of your year. Here you go.
Yeah.
So
Don't mess it up.
pretty much. So I was at the range all the time. I mean, I felt like I wasn't even going to the gym. I mean, I still was, but I would go to the range. I shot 4,000 rounds in a month.
Nice.
I mean, just going to the range, and like, I mean, it was very boring. Like, we have cameras at our range, and there's like some like older men that like are committee members and like watch the cameras, making sure like no one's doing anything.
Yeah.
What is that you got there?
They probably were sitting there like, this girl's the most boring person to watch on the range. Because I was just sit there and shoot at 7 yards, just trying to get to know the trigger extremely well. Because, I mean, it's basically bullseye shooting what we're doing.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to know, like, intuitively when that trigger was going to break every single time.
Yeah.
You know, they're watching that video just hoping to catch you doing burpees or something so they come yell at you.
See, I did some pretty crazy stuff on the range. So, like, I talked to those guys, and I was like, did you see me pulling sleds? They're like, we see you pulling sleds down the road, and we see you running. I was like, yeah, I run for my missus. They were like, why?
Legit question.
Yeah. That's great. So we are on the Safariland live stream. So you are running Safariland holsters, right?
Yes.
And why is it important for you to have like a retention on your gun, especially for something like on tactical games, like falling off a rope,
Like
per
a
se?
rope climb.
Right.
For rope climbing and things like this.
Right. So I run a 6000 series level 2 ALS. It's the same one I ran the years before I ran Kimber.
Yeah.
It's for a 5-inch 1911 2011. And just like you said, I mean, I fell off the rope and my gun stayed in the holster.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any better test than that. I have gone upside down and I have done handstand walks on the range.
Yeah.
Not that you do that in tactical games. That was more for fun. But burpees, we're constantly doing burpees. You're going over a box. Your holster's getting snagged on things. You're running through tunnel systems.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's very important to have retention. I saw a lot of guns fall out of holsters last year.
Right.
And if that happens, you're done.
Yeah. And I think that's a good thing for, like, just if anyone's out there thinking about doing the tactical games, like having that retention, because like even in SWAT competitions and stuff like that, we see guys running Kydex for speed or something like that, and then a rope gets hung up, or and that gun hits the ground, you're freaking done, man. Like, so it's pretty important. It's not, I guess the retention's probably weighs a little bit more than a USPSA match or something where you're going to draw it once and do something and have it in your hand. It's going to be going back into the holster and things like that. So that's super important, your equipment-wise.
You've worked months and months and months training for a competition. The last thing you want is to get DQ'd because you don't have the right holster.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So.
Dropped your gun and got DQ'd.
Dang.
Man, that's a tough day.
Yeah. So run us through like a day in the life of Blayr Drumm, like, you know, like talk about, like, I don't want to just talk about, like, you know, the tactical games, but like, you know, what's your diet like? Like, what are you like? When are you carving up for the, like, you know, what I mean, kind of run us through a competition prep.
Okay. So I mean, you're gonna think I'm crazy, but I've weighed and measured everything that I've eaten for the last 6 to 8 years.
That's great.
So much now that it's just like, it's just natural.
Right.
Like, I don't have a food scale here, so I'm sitting at the restaurant and I'm like, that looks like 4 ounces of chicken. And
Yeah.
I'll look at Nathan, my husband, I'd be like, does this look like 4 ounces of chicken? And he's like, just eat the chicken. But yeah, so I'm pretty regimented with my diet. When I started CrossFit, like I said, I didn't work out at all.
Right.
I ate Popeyes and Chick-fil-A every day. I was drinking like 8 Dr. Peppers a day.
Big shout out to Popeyes.
Yeah.
I love you.
Which is better?
Hey, number biscuits.
Popeyes sponsored this man.
Big Popeyes shout out.
So I looked at I was fortunate enough to go to a gym where there were monsters all around me.
Yeah.
They were way better than me. And that's the best position to be. You never want to be a big fish in a little pond,
Right.
right? So I was like, how can I get ahead of these people? Like, how can I match these people, be just as good as these people? And I was like, well, the only thing I can control is I can't get better any faster. I'm working out as much as I can, but I can sleep better and I can eat better.
Yeah.
And you know, that's what I did. So I really focused on nutrition, and I fell in love with it. So I had a degree in psychology, and I was on a completely different career path. But when I started really honing in my nutrition, I really fell in love with that, and I switched, and I went to LSU for dietetics, for nutrition.
Nice.
So I would say food is a huge staple of my training. I notice when I don't eat right. It plays a huge role in my training when I do or I don't.
Right.
But other than that, I mean, my diet does change as nationals gets closer and closer. My carbs do go up. It really just depends on how much training I've done that day. Like I said, if I'm just static shooting at the range, I'll alter what I eat to kind of fit that.
Yeah.
But off season, my carbs go down, fats go up, protein pretty much stays the same. That's my diet. Training during the off season, so like this is considered the off season. My first competition is in February in Arizona. We don't really have much of an off season in tactical games. You kind of create your own based off what match you do to begin your season.
Yeah.
I'm just beginning my season a little bit earlier this year. You know, I'll be training at the gym twice a day. I'll train in the morning. I work from home, so I'll work from home in the morning. Coach my noon class. I train a noon class at my gym every day.
Yep.
Go back home, finish up work, and then I'll come back to the gym in the evening. Whenever I'm gearing up, like maybe a month out from a match, I'll trade probably 3 days a week of that into like morning range or afternoon range, depending on the weather.
Yeah.
So,
all right.
Range time starts to increase, gym time starts to decrease when competition comes closer.
Yeah. Which I really liked what you said is the consistency, like when you started measuring your food and things like that, because you're competing at that elite level, like even like trying to get to the games or making nationals for, I mean, that's elite level for fitness people, elite level for shooting. So like that's pretty great that you were able to get there as quickly as you got there, but now able to maintain it. That's that's a discipline in itself right there.
And that's what I tell my clients. I mean, my nutrition clients, I tell them, like, it's about consistency. It's not about the fact that you ate a piece of pie with your grandma at Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
It's about what you did the other 364 days of the year. Like, it's about the consistency that you have. So it's a huge deal, especially in our sport now. I mean, there's so many amazing females that compete.
Yeah.
I mean, it's anybody's game.
Right.
Know?
Yeah. Are you seeing
staying injury free?
Staying injury
is
free.
huge, and so like you're not blowing out an Achilles or doing something like that.
Yep.
Or,
Not overtraining, undereating, overtraining, undersleeping, overtraining.
Are you seeing like more fitness coming into the tactical games, or are you seeing more shooters becoming fitter? Like what do you see like how the tactical games is transitioning their space?
So I've noticed both. So in the beginning, it was a lot of like CrossFit Games athletes, potential CrossFit Games athletes that were like, hey, this is really cool. I like to shoot.
Yeah.
I'm not very good at it, but they have become exceptional at it. And then you have, some people that were very high level shooters come in.
Right.
And they got worked over on the fitness. Right. And then they have upped their
fitness game. Yeah.
So where now, now it's like you have athletes that are now shooters and shooters that are not athletes going head to head.
Okay. All right. That's kind of really cool.
Yeah.
So who else is sponsoring you during for your events?
Superville.
Superville.
So I run
nice.
their ammunition.
Yeah.
I started using their 77 grain for our, precision stage.
Right. Yeah.
And then I run their 55 grain for, the stages that are 200 yards or less. I use their 124 grain for pistol.
Yeah. All right. Shout out Superville. They're doing good.
Safariland.
Yeah. Oh, of course, Safariland. Duh.
Under Armour.
Under Armour.
Under Armour.
So
They're the title sponsor.
Like? Yeah. So what's that like with this? Superville is an ammo, but like having a company like Under Armour support you, that's a pretty big. And Safariland. Big, huge companies like that,
But from outside of industry,
right,
obviously they have a hunting tactical side, but they're kind of outside of industry comparatively. So.
Yeah. So they became the title sponsor, I think, 2, maybe 3 years ago, and they really took charge in the 2A space.
Right.
They that's what they wanted. That was their goal. They showed a tremendous amount of support for the tactical games as a sport. And then their first SHOT Show, they were going around to booths. They were trying to create relationships. They came by the Safariland booth with me last year to just meet everyone that they could, kind of forge relationships with people in the 2A community, and they've done that. They've done a great job. So
that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool having them in the space.
I would think so. Yeah.
Are you seeing anything from they're out at these matches, they're watching hundreds of competitors hopefully put their products through the use? Are you seeing that experience kind of go back towards that product development? Are you seeing their hunting tactical line getting better for sort of your use case?
So they actually used the Tactical Games team to create a shooting short for men and a tactical legging for women. So belt loops, making sure the pockets were wide enough, deep enough for a PMAG, stuff like that. Really using us to make sure hey, these are the people that are going to be running our products, shooting in our products. So we want to make sure that it can stand the test of time and durability. And they've come out with some really great things. They came out with a brand new shoe this year for a wider toe box because their toe box is generally more narrow.
Right.
And it was a request from our Tactical Games team, hey, let's do a wider toe box. We still need a lot of serration on the side for rope climbs so we don't slide off the rope, stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Really taking the
you're really going on that rope. You're really. That rope.
Look, every time I jump
I'm
on
gonna
that
need
rope,
spikes on my shoes, please.
every time I jump on that rope, I'm like, Lord, please not today.
All right, that's awesome. So, what kind of advice would you give to the fitness people who maybe are scared, not even scared, but they're not in that 2A community, and just how fun a fitness shoot? Those are two really cool things. Shooting guns is fun.
Yeah.
So what kind of advice would you give? Where should they look? And because it's probably intimidating to even go and try to find a range or something like that.
True.
So I guess I kind of recommend if you're already doing fitness stuff, you're in a CrossFit gym, there's probably somebody there in that gym world that can probably lead them in a good thing, but I don't know. What would you say?
That's the number one question I get asked on social media. People will hit me up and be like, hey, this is really interesting to me, but I have no idea how to get started. This is so foreign to me. What do I do?
Yeah.
And I'll lead them towards, if it's a training situation, how do I train for this, physically? TTG, Tactical Games, has a training app and workout program that you can use to get ready, so I'll send them that direction. If it's hey, how did you start shooting, or basically how proficient do I need to be to start? I'm hey, find where are you located, because chances are if they tell me where they're located, someone that I know in the community is close to them.
Right.
So they can reach out to them. Texas is normally people are in Texas that hit me up, or maybe somewhere on the East Coast, and I'm hey, I know this person, they're pretty close to you. Make sure that you're safe and proficient with your firearms, but if they can help you, if you want to reach out to them, they can help you find a range.
Right.
I mean, even though Tactical Games is so big, it's grown, we're still a family.
Yeah.
Like, everybody knows everybody for the most part. So generally I can lead them in the direction of someone that's close to them that can give them information on a range.
Right. And I mean, I would also think that just, it might not be Tactical Games oriented, but just finding a good trainer. Like me,
Exactly.
I do training. Alex does a lot of training, like, finding these great trainers, and then you can learn how to shoot well.
That's
and
the
then
most
it'll
important.
transition
Yep.
over to like, all right, well, now I can hone that on myself. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like,
That's
you
the
can,
most important thing.
yeah.
Like, can I be safe, proficient, and confident with my firearms? So, like, with a trainer, so
Yeah.
that I can go out and kind of perfect it how I want.
So one of the things that I always found too, especially like the PRS side when that was still kind of growing, was, people might be a little intimidated or not totally sure how to get in. But like, I always thought one of the best things to do was just go RO, because there's
Yes.
always a shortage of volunteers. Now
Yes.
you're there, no pressure. You can kind of be in an observation role. You can ask people questions. You can make those connections.
100%.
And it helps everybody out anyway.
100%. So that's actually like an option at Tactical Games. You can go, you can RO,
Yeah.
or volunteer.
Yeah.
You'll run scoring. They'll give you a job, and then you get an event
Yeah.
from volunteering.
Right.
So they'll give you a free event for
Okay.
volunteering.
Oh, that's awesome.
And you get the time to watch the event take place, be on the backside of it to see how it works, how things operate, ask questions, and then you can sign up for an event, and you feel a lot more prepared that way. I know a
Yeah.
lot of people have done that.
Yeah. So, Alex, just a quick question for you. So what kind of training do we offer up there at the facility, at the Ridgeline facility up in New Hampshire?
So pistol, carbine, precision, and then our law enforcement military side does some sort of niche mission set type stuff, sniper stuff, low visibility operations, stuff like that. But yeah, kind of a little bit of everything. We've got a big staff. Like, it's not just me. So it's we've got a bunch of great, really talented instructors up there, and everybody's really passionate about teaching and that customer experience. Because again, we're kind of in an underserved area of the country, and we're kind of like, we're in New Hampshire, which is like the Tennessee of the North, but we are New England, so we're behind enemy lines, right? So having a really good customer experience from people coming from Massachusetts, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, they're especially if they're new to it, they're not immediately put off by a terrible experience. So we've got a really good crew up there.
Yeah, you got a great crew up there. I mean, what's their competition records up there? I mean, there's.
I mean, we've got guys that have won the international sniper competition. Top 3, top 5 at USASOC. 2 of our guys started the Ranger Assault Sniper course, so we're pretty deep into that. We all shoot. I force my guys to shoot competition. I don't say I force. I have to. If anything, I have to throttle them back. I'm like, no, we need to work this weekend.
Yeah.
Right. But they're all into it, and they challenge each other, which is awesome. So obviously, when you get everybody in a pit like that, it's put up or shut up. So,
yeah.
But they're really great. They're really into it, and I'm really proud of the crew that we have. So.
So like I always talk about like with me, I always think like I've shot competitions, and mostly it was like tactical 2-gun or outlaw match or 3 guns, because I really liked it in law enforcement. I retired law enforcement, so I thought that competition helps in that market. I mean, so with Tactical Games, do you think it's, in your opinion, I guess, would it be like good for law enforcement to come out because it's going to benefit? You'll see both sides of things. Like, I mean, everybody should be in shape to be in law enforcement. So, I mean, but is it such a high level that, like, a match you can go out and shoot, and you don't have to be too much like. It's not going to wear you out, I guess I'm going to say. So it's kind of maybe less intimidating on the fitness side. But I mean, I've seen everybody like that I know that do Tactical Games. They're very welcoming in that community. But I just don't want them to be like, I'm not in that great shape, so why would I do a Tactical Games? I'll just go do this other match or something.
That's
so
true.
what do you see that kind of going? Or no?
I think it's great for first responders because it tests your accuracy at high heart rate. I mean,
yeah.
But there's different divisions. So there's intermediate, there's tactical, and there's elite. And then there's like 2 master's divisions.
Okay.
So you don't have to do elite.
Right.
which is the heavier, hardest, whatever.
Right. So they're scaled.
Yeah.
Scaled, just like a workout.
There's a lot of first responders
okay.
that come out. They compete in the tactical division. They want to test their gear. They want to test themselves.
Right.
That's very common. So
Okay.
I definitely think there's a place for it.
That's what I was going to ask. Like Jared was getting at, if some guys will show, they'll come shoot two-gun or outlaws or whatever, and they're just going to run their duty rig. Like, they're not going to be in a full-blown competition rig or anything like that.
Yeah, they're not there to win. They're just there to get better.
Right?
Get
It's
better.
like, okay,
It's like-
some people are playing the game.
Right.
Some people want to test their gear.
Right.
Because it matters. Some people want to just go and, wear whatever, do what, they want to win the game. They want to win the tactical games, the game. Some
Right.
people just want to test their gear, and I think there's room for both.
All right. That's kind of what I figured, but you know what I mean. So, guys, if you're out there and you're in law enforcement, don't be too ashamed to go out there and run your gear, see where it is, see where it fails, see what it does, because chances are you might get in a foot chase. You might get into a shooting afterwards.
There's even partner. There's partner competition.
Yeah.
So you can go out there, find a buddy, go together.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty awesome thing and doing it. So, is your mindset changed a little bit different from like competing CrossFit and then competing in the tactical games? Like, or did you kind of have to almost throttle yourself back? Like, you had to learn a little bit of like.
Lots of throttling back.
Yeah, all right.
So it changed a lot.
Yeah.
Whenever I went out in 2020, I was like, I'm going to fitness as fast as I can, and then I'm going to shoot as fast as I can. You would have thought I had a fully automatic.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to go back to fitness because I'm really good at that. And I probably am not impacting the target at all, but who cares?
Yeah.
Because I'm going to win the workout.
Yeah.
I'm going to win the workout. And
Okay,
hey,
yeah.
I would win the workout. And then I got like 300 seconds in penalties.
Plus 7 minutes.
And I'm like, but I won the workout.
Right, yeah. I don't know if you saw the raw times. The raw times is where I'm
Raw
at.
times is what counts,
Yeah.
right?
Out of real sports, not trying to be the best at shooting everything.
Yeah.
So then...
raw times and raw meat is all I'm about.
So then I had a few people that were my friends say, hey, you're not winning because you're doing fitness really well, but you are not shooting well. So you need to slow down.
Yeah.
And you need to hit the target. And hey, how about you rest?
Yeah, it's weird.
Because when you're shooting slow, your heart rate can come down, and then you feel a lot better going out there and doing the fitness again.
Right.
Stupid.
So yes, my mindset definitely changed. There's a whole different mindset to doing a competition that is fitness focused only.
Yeah.
Where it is like hammer down.
Yeah.
To doing a tactical games competition where it is more like an every 2 minutes. Like you're working for 2 minutes and then you're resting.
Yeah.
And then you're working for 2 minutes and you're resting. That changes based on the workout.
Right. Okay.
Do you still do any of the CrossFit? Like, do you do any other fitness comps? Or
I do.
Yeah.
I'm in love with it. I do a lot of local competitions. There's a competition in Texas I love to do every year, but it always backs up to SHOT Show, so I haven't done it the last 2 years. But I'm still in the space.
Yeah.
But I had to make a choice. I had a fitness coach for CrossFit at the time, and he was like, hey, you're going to need to make a choice because you're getting really deep into tactical games.
Right.
And you're getting really good at it. But you're still doing handstand push-ups and ring muscle-ups and bar muscle-ups and all the stuff that you don't do for tactical games. So you're going to have to make a choice.
Right.
So I really started shifting over the last 2 years, just focusing on tactical games, the implements that we use in the sport. Sandbags, axle, running a lot, rucking a lot.
Yeah. I see sometimes I can see different with the tactical games, with my side with law enforcement, not all shootings are like a fitness competition. You're not always going to have the heart rate, but there are those times, so it does help. Like with me, on one of my shootings that I was involved in, where I was shot. Actually, I had like a 1/4 mile sprint, then I had a physical fight with the guy, and then then I got shot, and then I had to shoot him.
Wow.
So
5 rounds for time.
Seriously.
So there was a fitness side of things, and having that good fitness level in you, where I always tell people, you got to be good at kind of both. You don't want to be the best runner or the best weightlifter because
you have to
you
be a
might not
three-headed monster,
you might not make the fight, and then if you're the best runner, you're the first one there to get your butt kicked. So you know what I mean? Like it's just kind of like one of those things that you got to have that fitness. And I think the tactical games, now that's come out and over the years, is probably morphing into a more better scenario-based kind of thing.
Like a readiness.
Right, like
sport.
a readiness sport. Yeah, which is that's pretty slick.
It definitely lets you take a look in the mirror, right? Like you said, your three-headed monster. Like, have I been running enough? Yes, no.
Yes.
Like, have I been lifting enough?
Have I
yes,
been
no.
shooting
Have
enough?
I been shooting enough? Yes, no. And kind of allow you to kind of gauge your training or retweak your training plan from there.
And before, I mean, when it was new, you could get away with an imbalance in one of those three categories and still be okay, like still maybe land on the podium. Now, if you're not a three-headed monster, you're not even top 5.
Yeah, and that's kind of how, I mean, everything's going to progress. Like, you know what I mean? I'm sure that when it first started, like you were saying, there's a bunch of like CrossFit main dudes, they were probably shooting but really fitnessing it so they could kill it. But that just shuts off the shooting side of things. Like, or if I'm a great shooter and I'm not that great at fitness, it shuts them down. Now it's being more, I wouldn't say realistic or something, but more
the most
inclusive.
well-rounded person wins.
That's kind of what I would be thinking.
Yep.
Yeah. Is there any drills that you've been doing specific? Like, what is like you were saying, like you shot 100 rounds a day or whatever. What was your
static time?
So run me through some drills. Like, what are your go-to drills?
So typically I'll warm up with 100 rounds.
Okay.
I'll shoot 10 rounds per target, just focusing on trigger.
So you're at like 7 yards, 1-inch
Sight.
pasters. Like you shooting like a paster drill. What do you like? What do you think?
Pacer drills.
Okay.
Sometimes a little bit bigger. Sometimes I'll go out to 15.
Okay.
But I do a lot of static shooting, and then I'll transition over. We have like kind of like a extra like utility bay at our range where it's just a patch of grass. It's about 15 yards deep, and I'll start working on like moving and shooting.
Yeah.
Really, I'm just moving in a line. I'm just, I'll shoot 2, reload on the move, shoot 2, and I will do that from the left side, from the right side, over and over and over and over again.
Right.
Moving and shooting was something that I struggled at the most. I don't know why, but I was just uncomfortable running with a gun in my hand.
Like shooting on the move or running then shooting?
Shooting on the move.
Okay, shooting on the move. Okay.
Shooting on the move and like shooting like footwork and everything.
Right.
shooting when I get into a shooting
Yeah,
box.
as soon as you run into
and
that
like
box.
being prepared, like sights on the target before I get into the box.
Yeah, starting to break down early and doing those
things like that.
Yeah.
The little things.
Yeah, and like I'll tell you, it's funny because I shot like my first pro 3-gun in Kentucky one year, and like I shoot and I'll do whatever, and I wasn't like a professional shooter but I was on my squad. Those guys were, and I was like, how did that dude get like 16 seconds faster than me? You know what I mean? I was like, I shot better, like, you know what I mean? And he's like, well, how many steps did you take to the left? I was like, I don't know, I ran over there. And he's like, no, it's 4 steps. And like, and he's like, and when my foot hit, I'm back. I was like,
that sounds like my shooting coach. Yes.
Yeah, and you start seeing, like, I didn't do a walk. Like I do the walkthroughs, they're counting steps. I'm just like, all right, I'm going to go left. I can do that. I can engage, and that stuff matters. Like when you're trying to get to that elite level, like where you're at, those
Seconds
little,
matter.
those little tweaks, like half seconds add up.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And like that's pretty awesome.
Yep.
So if someone wanted to come find you, where would it not? That's kind of weird. Not weird, but like that came off weird. They're asking me questions off the screen.
Just go ahead and put your address out there.
Yeah, no, like what events are you attending this year? Like they want to come see, Blayr Drumm compete. Like which ones are you doing this year? Like what's on your training schedule or competition schedule for 2025?
So the first one on the roster is Arizona.
Okay.
That's the very first Hatchwell Games event. I typically don't do the first one, but we want to go to Arizona. We're going to spend some time in Sedona afterwards, so that's just where we're starting.
Yeah.
And then the second one will be Florida.
All right.
At Element.
Element. All right. That sounds great. And then will you just pick kind of off of that?
I'll kind of pick based off how that goes, because that's a February and a March. So those are 2 competitions that are pretty close together. So I will probably take like a decent 2-3 month gap before the next one.
Which that kind of makes sense, because then you get your fitness. Does it make sense to do your next 2 kind of back to back, so you don't have a gap like when you start off your is that so?
Yeah, so it'll be you could. That's essentially the best way to do it.
Okay.
I mean, it's like if you're gonna do 2 events, like do them close together, spend some time training, working on the holes that you found
Discovered
the
on
first
those,
2,
yeah.
and then do 2 more, and then nats.
Right, because I'm sure every year that sport's evolving, just kind of like the CrossFit Games themselves. There's always going to be some weird Like they've never made us do this before, and you'll find it probably.
There's always a new implement, so you want to compete. I mean, you don't want to just compete at the first event and then not again until nationals.
Right.
Because they're gonna test new implements. They're gonna test. I mean, we had a box that was like 4 foot tall at nationals that we had to put 115 female weight, 115 pound sandbag over and then get over it.
Yeah.
And you had like 12 per round. So you're able to see kind of like how the sport's evolving and like kind of make guesses on what nationals is going to be like based off of the events that you've done all year.
Right.
And the new things that they're testing.
All right. Awesome. So, let's do some social media plugs and stuff like that. Where can people look you up, like you, follow you?
I am Smokey the Blayr on Instagram. I have a YouTube. It is just my name, Blayr Drumm. I'm working on getting some more content out on that. That's my goal for 2025. Get more YouTube content out. I'm not saddened over the loss of TikTok. I never had one. So.
I don't have a TikTok either.
Dude, I knew China was behind that.
Yeah. But no ticky-tacky for me.
we can talk about our conspiracy theories.
Oh yeah.
All right, Alex. What about you? What about social medias for you?
Ridgeline Defense on Instagram. If you Google anything, Ridgeline, it's either the car or us. So you'll find us. Ridgeline and gun, and you probably can't go wrong. Google will do the rest.
Have you ever Googled yourself?
Yeah, heck yeah.
I did it like a couple months ago. There's so many pictures of me.
You
it
can
was
find
like
some
scary.
weird stuff. You can find some weird stuff.
I'm on Reddit.
Hey, I don't know if you know this. People like you.
I'm on Reddit.
Hey, you're sitting next to Jared Reston because people like you. All right? Like, let's not get it twisted. Like, you're here with the Jay and Alex show. This is a big deal.
I like that.
It's just the pilot. We'll see if it gets picked up.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, guys, just real quick. For tomorrow, same bat time, same bat channel. We will have Kyle Morgan from Blue Bearing Solutions with us tomorrow, and it should be a good talk. All right, fellas, we're signing off here. Hope to see you tomorrow. Anybody at SHOT Shows, come by the Safariland booth, say hey. You see Blayr walking around, stop, talk to her, give her a shout. All right, thank y'all very much, and we'll see y'all tomorrow.